you always need a place to live. I rather own the place that I live as opposed to rent it.
The Bank of Canada is expected to leave the interest rate where it currently stands. That's a good sign that our economy is rebounding a bit. Imagine somebody told you today rent is cheaper, the job market is improving, and interest rates aren't expected to rise. You'd probably think Canadian families should finally be catching a break. So why are so many people still feeling financially stretched? Today we're breaking down what those headlines really mean and how to use this moment to make smarter financial decisions with your family. Welcome back to News You Can Use. I'm joined again, of course, with Pierre. My name is David. I'm your co-host, and today we'll be covering a few topics that hopefully touch home and resonate with folks here in Ontario. So the first bit of news is the war is on, the war is off, the war is on, the war is off. It seems like currently, as of when we're recording this, negotiations have sort of broken down. The Strait of Hormuz is arguably closed.
Unless you pay a 20% fee, then they'll have it open for you.
Fair enough. So this means currently we're seeing that at least U.S. stock markets are going down. Prices of oil are going up. So how does this sort of impact and play upon us here in Southern Ontario?
You know what? Again, if you're clients of ours, then it doesn't have that big of an impact because we have a plan in place which takes into consideration the ups and downs of the market. Because the market never goes in one straight direction, either straight up or straight down. So this turbulence we'll see happening. If you have a plan and you're investing or contributing on a weekly, bi-weekly, all that does is that when the market goes down, you're buying more of those particular units. So if you do have a plan in place, it should have no impact. Now, on the other hand, I'm driving every day to come to work or to visit clients. It has an impact. One day my gassing up to $80, and then next week it's down to $60 for a full tank of gas. So it does have an impact. Eventually, if this goes on for much longer, then we'll see this trickle down to our food price, which are already elevated. So hopefully they'll figure this out, because hopefully the war can't go on forever. Having said that, I said the same thing about Ukraine, and it's still going on. So all this to say, eventually prices should stabilize, and eventually we should see the markets also stabilize. But having said that, the TSX has been up 10% this year with all the ups and downs. So if you've been waiting on the sideline, you miss a 10% increase for half of the year. So have a plan in place.
Okay, so again, obviously stressing that times might be a little bit uncertain, but with a plan in place, you can take advantage of that in certain ways. Again, as you stressed, if stock markets are going down, that's actually a buying opportunity. It's not a time to freak out and be like, oh my goodness, because we have a buy and hold policy typically here.
That's right.
We're in for the long term, not the short term.
That's right. Because if you're in there for the short terms, in and outs, then you're speculating. You're not an investor. And we deal with investors with long-term financial goals, not in and outs, taking advantages of quick hits here and there.
Okay. So again, with that plan in place, hopefully you can all ride this out very safely. And again, hopefully peace does come to the Middle East and Ukraine and the rest of it.
Yeah, definitely.
But we're not, I guess, at this point holding our fingers crossed.
I'm praying, but one day.
Absolutely. So just moving on, it looks like asking rents in Canada have fallen more than 4% in the last year, according to reports. So I guess the idea here is that rents are sort of becoming cheaper. Home prices, we're seeing there's been a bit of a correction.
Yeah.
But I guess
start seeing going up a bit. Yeah.
So with this, I guess, with rents becoming cheaper and home prices going up a little, so with rents softening in a lot of Canadian cities, should middle-aged Ontario families continue renting and invest the difference? Or should they consider buying a home if they're financially able?
Yeah. So I'm biased, so I'll say that. You always need a place to live, right? So it doesn't matter. You always need a place to live. I rather own the place that I live as opposed to rent it. I rather be beholden to me, not to someone else, because that individual could always kick me out and bring in somebody else. So I want to be in control of my destiny. So that's kind of my bias. Having said that, I could show the math that renting and saving the difference, if there is a big difference between buying and renting, over a long period of time, 25, 40 years, it could work out to the renter's side. But how many people will save the difference? Right? How many people will diligently save the difference and not spend it? So that's most Canadians that will not save the difference between renting and buying. Then in the long run, 25 years, 50 years down the line, what do you have? You don't have anything. You don't have any equity, right? Whereby at the very least, if I purchased a home and I don't put any money into TFSAs or RSPs, by 25, 30 years, I would have paid off my house and I've got this big amount of equity. I've got this thing called property, which is now worth a couple of millions of dollars, right? So it depends. I mean, it depends on the individuals. If you are diligent, and we could do the math for you to show you if that would work out to your advantage. To me, right now, the fact that rents are down, it's now a renter's market, which is a great thing. It means more money in your pocket to save towards putting down towards the down payment, either through the first home savings account, FHSA, the RRSP Home Buyers Plan, or a TFSA. So have a plan in place and direct the monies accordingly to reach your long-term housing.
Absolutely. And I know back in the spring, we did have some first home buyers episodes. So you can always go back and check some of those as well for some wonderful tips that we did have then as well. It does seem like as well, this is sort of a buyer's market for homes as well. So we're actually going to touch on that a bit. It looks like it has been a turbulent month of data, but the Bank of Canada is expected to leave the interest rate where it currently stands. So as we're recording this is before the interest rate announcement date.
That's right.
But we do anticipate that it will stay. Again, I'm assuming that's because of the uncertainty we're currently
Big time. So it's just like when you're playing cards, you're playing any game. You don't want to show your hand right off the bat, right? You're there to play the long game. So at this moment, because there's so much uncertainty in the markets, interest rates up, interest rates down. So right now, we're just going to keep it steady as she goes until they can see which direction that this world is heading into, and then act accordingly. But I do expect before the end of the year that the Bank of Canada will lower interest rate by another 0.25. But it's when will they do that? The next meeting, I don't anticipate anything unless something drastic occurs. And there's also been talks that they can actually increase interest rates, right? So again, it all depends. If we're starting seeing inflation going through the roof because the war lingers on, we're seeing that prices at the pump, we're seeing prices in the grocery stores are going up, then the Bank of Canada may have no other tactic to take advantage of but to increase interest rates to bring down the inflation. But ultimately, if by the end of the year, all things being equal, everything works out, you should see another rate cut. So let's hope everything stays the same.
First, and we'll certainly follow up throughout the year. Obviously, interest rates, labor, these are things that the Bank of Canada and, of course, our government is interested in. Obviously, we're all interested in that as well as you too. So we do have some good news, guys, on the labor front. We just released some stats for June, and the Canadian job market has stabilized with a modest bit of growth. So there is a slight decline of unemployment. So that's a good sign that our economy is rebounding a bit.
And I like the fact that we're always ending with some positive news. I don't want to damper it, but the increase in jobs is really more part-time, seasonal jobs. But that's a good thing because our youth unemployment was significantly up. We had a lot of youth that didn't find a job, and finally they did manage to find jobs in record numbers, and as a result of that, it brought down the unemployment rate. What I would like to see is come September, when those jobs are over, is the unemployment rate going to bump up, or will it continue to scale down? So hopefully the positivity stays. Again, the economy picks up, the war is over, we no longer have uncertainty, I know we're talking about the bridge opening, right? In Michigan, we see trade starting to go both ways again, all positivity, and the economy continues to go full steam ahead.
Okay, so currently we are seeing more of a rise in part-time jobs. We do hope to see more of a rise in full-time employment. Again, come September, we'll see how those job numbers change. Hopefully, again, we can keep seeing a decrease in unemployment and an increase in job numbers. And yeah, just our last topic, which we did just talk about, the Gordie Howe Bridge. It seems like it's finally going to open July the 27th, is what we're hearing. So I guess there was a bit of a contentious point. It seems the Canadian government has fronted the $6.4 billion to build this bridge. And the original deal was that after those expenses were paid, we were then going to split the tolls with the state of Michigan.
That is correct.
It seems like we sort of tweaked this a bit, and there was a bit of a contentious point. And now, instead of doing that, for the next 15 years, we're going to be splitting that toll directly with some sort of fund. I'm not quite sure what's happening.
I mean, it's a side fund, so 50% of the revenues from the toll and the bridge will come back to Canada, and the other 50% will go towards this fund to benefit the U.S., really, the state of Michigan. There's a bit more to be learned about that fund. The only thing I care about, let's open the bridge, right? So I was happy that they were able to find a way around this, a deal that is beneficial for both, a win-win. Let's worry about the semantics, the other stuff later. Let's get the bridge going and let's get traffic moving both ways, and then to build our economy. Yes, we paid for it, but it's for the benefit of both countries, right? U.S. and Canada. So that is a good deal, and it should benefit everyone.
Absolutely. I mean, it was inevitable the bridge was going to open. It was built. It was there. And the Detroit-Windsor corridor is the busiest for trade between our two countries.
That's correct.
So we did need another alternative away from the personally owned bridge that was there. So we do have this now, and hopefully, that increases trade between our two countries, and we can solve some of the trade issues we've been having of recent.
Definitely. And let's unclog that uncertainty, and let's have both countries going full steam ahead.
Absolutely. Do you wish to talk about a golf event that we have coming?
Yes. So we talked about it last week, and now we've cemented the date. Saturday, September 19th, from 12 to 6 p.m. at the Harmony Creek Golf Center in Oshawa, Ontario. We're going to have the inaugural TFTeam charity golf tournament, and we're looking for people, novice, good players, bad players, any players that are willing to have fun, have a great day out in the wilderness of Durham, and all for a good cause. In terms where a lot of the proceeds will go towards charity. We're also asking people to bring in a cat of perishable items that we could donate to Feed the Need in Durham, whereby it provides healthy meals to people that are less fortunate than ourselves. Every dollar that we donate will help to create 2 meals for individuals. So we're looking to donate as much as we can, plus some perishable items that help feed the need in Durham. So the cost right now for this 12-hole tournament is $125 with your clubs, and $140 without clubs. And what do you get for $140? Well, you get to see us too, right? Well, it's not worth the price of admission, just the 2 of us, but you get 12 rounds of golf, you get or 12 holes of golf, and then you get a power court, you get a meal, hot and cold buffet, sit down meal, along with plenty of prizes, plenty of guest appearances, and a free financial plan, as my director is telling me. Is it really free? Right? Holy cow! Right? Who pays for this? Anyway, so free financial plans will be out for the take. But the main thing I want people to know: this is for charity, and this is to help feed the needy in Durham. So Mark that on your calendar. Saturday, September 19th from 12 to 6 p.m. up in Oshawa, Ontario.
Perfect. We hope to see you there. Once again, thanks for joining us this week. Please be sure to follow, click, and like.
Bye for now.